The name of the talk is Integrating Client Framework with Sitecore JSS. I'm Adam Lamarre, and just a little bit about me. Currently a principal developer at Lamarre. Been working with Sitecore since 2011. I was named a 2019 Sitecore Technology MVP, and I've been blogging about a lot of Sitecore JSS things, including some more in-depth information about this talk. So if you're interested in learning more, check it out there. Also, follow me on Twitter. And just a quick agenda before we dig into this presentation. We're going to start with some basic introduction for Sitecore JSS, get on the same page, and then we're going to talk about Svelte, which is really the framework that inspired this talk. And then we're going to talk about integrating a framework, and there's really two pieces to that. So you have the component library portion, and then the actual web application. So we'll dig into both of those, and then we'll finish it up with some server-side rendering discussion. So yeah, let's just jump into it. So, simply put, Sitecore JSS allows you to build Sitecore power sites in JavaScript. It's exciting, cutting-edge technology. Headless sites with JavaScript front-ends are all the rage these days, and now we get access to the same great technology to build experiences for our customers using it. And honestly, if you told me back in 2011, when I first started doing Sitecore work, that I'd be able to build a Sitecore-powered site in React one day, I first would have said, wait, what's React? It's 2011. And then I probably would have said, web forms forever. And, I finally probably wouldn't have believed you. But that's honestly the reality of the situation now. And it's due in part to this service called LayoutService that Sitecore JSS ships. And LayoutService is really the backbone of your JSS application. LayoutService serves you a JSON representation of the presentation details that are on the route that's currently being rendered. If there are personalization rules that are applied to components on the presentation, those rules will be executed, and any changes will be reflected in the LayoutService data that you're returned. LayoutService will provide you access to all the different fields on your route and any components that are applied onto your current route as well. LayoutService knows about Experience Editor as well. If Experience Editor is detected, then it will provide you editable versions of your fields in the JSON response. And if you've done backend development for a while, you're probably familiar with this concept already. It's sort of like the rendered value in backend development. And the same sort of concept applies here as well. Additionally, LayoutService injects code tags around components that are in placeholders on the page. You literally just need to render out these code code components to get Experience Editor controls available to your content authors in Experience Editor. Ultimately, LayoutService just serves JSON. And what you do with it is really up to you. You're able to build on top of this service using any framework of your choosing. And Sitecore has given us some great sample apps to get started with. So these are the official frameworks. It wouldn't be a Sitecore JSS talk without a slide with the big logos on it. So we have React, Vue, and Angular. And these apps really give us a good foundation to start building our applications with. You can use any and all of these frameworks to get started building extremely performant sites that are powered by Sitecore without having to sacrifice any personalization or Experience Editor functionality. These applications are really just a starting place, though. You can modify a lot of those aspects of the sample applications to fit your needs. And honestly, by the time you go to production, you'll probably need to. You can also add support for any framework of your choice if you want to build a Sitecore-driven site using a framework you already know and love. And that's exactly what I did. I really wanted to dig into Sitecore JSS and really learn more. And I thought, what better way to do that than to integrate a client framework with Sitecore JSS? So I decided to integrate this framework called Svelte with Sitecore JSS. And there's a ton to like about Svelte. For instance, this is an entire component in Svelte. There's absolutely no boilerplate in any of these components. You could argue the script tag might be boilerplate, but the script tag, you add all your JavaScript in there, and then you use those variables down below in the actual HTML markup. So there's no React export functions here. There's none of that here, and this whole file just represents an entire component in Svelte. Another thing I really love about it is it actually supports scope styling built in. you don't need another NPM package to get this like some other frameworks have. So it's built in, and in this example, I have my H1 here. I'm targeting that H1 class or the H1 tag and just coloring it red. And my change is being reflected here, and Svelte behind the scenes is going to create a dynamic class for this one component and add that to our class when this component's compiled. So if I have another component added onto the page with another H1, those same styles that we have in our component won't trickle down to that other component that has an H1 as well. My favorite thing about Svelte, though, is it's truly reactive. So in this example, I have a basic counter here, which I'm initializing to 0 to start off with. And then I have an interval loop. And every 500 milliseconds, I'm just incrementing this variable, like you would normally in JavaScript. I'm not calling set state here. I'm not doing anything in here besides just incrementing this variable. But the page is updating. I'm just incrementing this variable. And this is because Svelte is actually a compiler. So on the left-hand side, we have that same component, but on the right-hand side, we have the actual compiled representation of this component. And this is what Svelte's doing for us on build. So on the right-hand side, you can see that same set interval loop, but it's changed it. It's changed it, and it's wrapped our counter that's being incremented with an invalidate function call. And it's passing in the variable that's being changed, and it's passing in the new value for it. So this is how it knows that the DOM needs to get updated, and it can re-render that particular element. So there's a ton to like about Svelte, but it's a fairly newcomer to the framework space. I'm not going to stand up here and suggest you go home and rewrite your React application using Svelte, but I think it's a framework worth watching. It seems like a lot of people are waiting for official TypeScript support to really fully adopt Svelte, and it is coming in the future. Svelte is also moving fairly fast. From when I did my original implementation back in April till when I updated it a few months later, there have been about 26 releases of Svelte. And so it's moving fairly fast. All those, a lot of those releases didn't really affect me at all, but some of them did. So that's something to keep aware of as well. Ultimately, this presentation isn't truly about Svelte, though. It's about frameworks in general through the scope of the work I did with integrating Svelte with JSS. There are so many frameworks out there. A new framework's probably been released since this talk began. All of these could be fair game for integration, and it might make sense. One use case I can really think of is if you're working with a client that has a lot of experience with a particular framework, is it possible to take that framework that they know and love and integrate with SitecoreSYM? And the answer is probably. So this presentation is about that. It's about what it takes to bring your own framework to SitecoreSYM and some of the challenges you're going to have to solve along the way.